1 in 3 people over 50 will suffer an osteoporotic fracture in their lifetime. And the leading cause are falls due to poor balance. A minor misstep can lead to a serious hip, wrist, or even a spine fracture. But what if I told you that there are 2 simple exercises that can protect you from the risk of having falls? Today I'm going to show you the 2 best balance exercises for osteoporosis to help strengthen your body, improve your coordination, and give you greater stability. Stick with me because I'll also be sharing the incredible benefits of having better balance, not just for your bones, but for your brain and your overall quality of life. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a BoneFit certified fitness instructor, a 500-hour trained yoga teacher with additional training that's specific to osteoporosis and yoga, and a nutritional health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I'm on a mission to reduce the number of osteoporotic fractures that happen each year, and I'm glad to have you join me in the journey to better bone health. When someone is afraid of falling, they often reduce their activity level and they become more cautious about their movement. They may stop practicing balance altogether. This tends to have the opposite effect of what they're intending. When someone starts moving less, they also tend to lose muscle mass and more bone along with it. And this tends to make their risk of having a serious fall and fracture go up. Something that I heard over and over again during my BoneFit training was that everyone should practice balance for at least 20 minutes every day. That might sound like a lot, but it includes all the time that we spend standing and walking during the day. If you do yoga, it will include every standing pose that you do. I think it's helpful to have in our minds that we need to do 20 minutes of balance practice every day. So let's talk about our first exercise today, standing on one foot. Standing on one foot has many benefits. With osteoporosis, it's generally easier to strengthen the spine than it is to strengthen the hips. This is true for most types of exercise, including yoga, Pilates, and even for people who go to the gym and lift heavy weights. The spine is easier to load weight on in a way that builds bone. Standing on one foot is one way that weight can be loaded into the hip joint. Anytime that you pick one foot up off the ground, you load weight into your standing leg hip. And when you load weight into your standing leg hip, then you promote new bone growth. It doesn't matter if you pick your foot up an inch off the floor or as high as hip height. When it's off the ground, you're loading weight into your standing leg hip. Let's go over some different ways to stand on one leg. Ultimately, it doesn't matter which variation you pick, so long as you're working on shifting your weight and picking one foot actually up off of the ground. I want to show you a few different ways here because there's probably a way that will appeal to you and work better in your body than other ways. I firmly believe that exercise should fit into your life and meet your needs, rather than you feeling like you have to do things a certain way or that it's wrong. When one exercise doesn't work in your body, there's always another exercise that will basically work on accomplishing the same thing, but in a different way. So try things out and experiment until you find what works well in your body. And don't feel badly about what doesn't work. No exercise is going to work for everyone. Since I'm a yoga teacher, I'm naturally inclined towards tree pose, but know that your tree doesn't have to look like mine. And it's totally okay if you just don't like tree pose at all. To do tree pose, start with your feet hip-width apart and press your left foot firmly into the floor. Pick your right foot up off the floor and place it on your leg. You can place your foot on your calf or on your thigh, depending on what works well in your body. Just don't place it at your knee because you don't want to put pressure on your knee. This will help to protect your knee. The goal is to be able to do this without holding on to anything for about 30 seconds. Your hands could come together at heart center, be out to the sides, or even reach up towards the sky. If you're new to balance practice, then you might want to hold onto a chair, your kitchen counter, or even to place a hand on a wall. It's also helpful to find a spot in front of you that's not moving to focus your gaze towards. This will actually help you to stay stable and balanced. Another way to stand on one foot is to tuck one foot behind your calf, keeping your knee facing towards the front of you. You could also choose to go with the hovercraft approach of just holding your foot off the ground without having it be anchored to your leg in any way. This is a more challenging way to go about things because your hovering foot is, well, hovering. If you have the hover approach down, then you can take it up a notch by taking your leg out in all different directions. You can take your leg in front of you, out to the side, and even behind you. This will strengthen your various glute muscles, which will also help you to strengthen your hips. If you want to experiment with taking your leg in different directions and you're still working on finding your balance, you can also try this out while holding onto your kitchen counter. If you feel unsteady and are uncomfortable lifting one foot off the ground, I encourage you to start off by holding onto something sturdy, like your kitchen counter, and then try lifting one foot up off the ground and putting it back down again, and then immediately switching to the other foot. This will give you practice shifting your weight from side to side and picking each foot up off the ground. This simple act will get you loading weight into your standing leg hip, which is a good thing for your hips and for bone health. Doing this every day can help you to protect your hips, strengthen your muscles, and help keep you steady on your feet. The second balance exercise that's essential for better bone health is to walk in different ways. Walking is an everyday skill that we use throughout the day. If you're going to trip or slip, the chances are that it happens while you're walking somewhere. When we take the time to walk in non-traditional ways, it helps our bodies to practice adapting to different movements while also improving our coordination and our stability. Walking in different ways helps us to improve our proprioception. Proprioception is also referred to as knowing where our bodies are in space. When we have greater awareness of where we are in space, it reduces our risk of having a fall. Balance literally helps to improve our ability to think. In 2015, Dr. Tabara conducted a research project at a Japanese university with over 1,300 adults who had an average age of 67. Each participant was asked to stand on one leg for up to a minute and were then given a cognitive test. The results were interesting. People who couldn't stand on one leg for 20 seconds had lower cognitive scores. A quote from the study says, "The ability to balance on one leg is an important test for brain health. Individuals showing poor balance on one leg should receive increased attention, as this may indicate an increased risk for brain disease and cognitive decline." Participants who could not balance on one foot for 20 seconds had lower cognitive scores. So now that we understand the benefits of walking in different directions, let's go over some of the examples of walking in different directions. First, let's practice walking backwards. Start by standing with your feet hip-width apart. And if you feel unsteady and you need to hold onto something, go ahead and hold onto your kitchen counter or place a hand on a wall in a hall of your house. See if you can look forward instead of looking down at your feet and see what happens when you walk backwards. Walking backwards improves our coordination and it gets our brains thinking. It makes it easier to handle unexpected movements that we encounter in everyday life, such as stepping backwards to avoid an obstacle that's in front of us. I'll admit, the first time I tried walking backwards, I felt totally awkward, like I was gonna bump into something. But after practicing for a few weeks, it started to feel natural, and now it's one of my favorite exercises. It took some time to get there, so as you practice walking backwards, be patient with yourself. Walking backwards encourages us to have an upright posture from leaning back, which is actually a really good thing to counteract our natural forward-leaning tendencies that come from less than ideal posture. Walking backwards also helps to strengthen our hips and our ankles while reducing stress on our knees, which can feel really good if you happen to have arthritis at the knee. The next type of walking to practice is heel-to-toe walking. Many of us think of the sobriety test when we think about walking heel to toe, but this is a great way to practice balance. In preparation to do this type of walking, take a moment and stand with your feet parallel like the number 11 and about hip-width apart. You probably feel fairly steady and stable in this position. Next, move your feet so that they're right next to each other. Do you notice a difference in your balance? We're less steady with our feet closer together than when our feet are hip-width apart. If you didn't really see a difference between standing with your feet hip-width apart and having them be close together, then try doing this same thing with your eyes closed. Chances are you'll really notice a difference in how steady you feel with your feet closer together if your eyes are closed. When we walk heel to toe in a line, our feet are close together and we're not in as steady a position as when our feet are hip-width apart. Walking in this way helps us to prepare for walking in places that are less stable, such as when there's an uneven surface, or when you have to step over an obstacle or walk through a tight space. Walking heel to toe strengthens our ankle and our foot muscles. It also focuses on being really precise. To walk heel to toe, start out in a standing position. When you place one foot directly in front of your other foot, check in with yourself. Do you feel steady and stable? If you're not quite sure, then try taking your arms out to the sides. That may make it easier to balance. And if you're still feeling unsteady, then I suggest holding onto your kitchen counter while you do this one, or bringing your hand to the wall of a hall in your home while you walk. See if you can do this exercise while looking forward rather than down at your feet. The next type of walking is side-to-side walking. Stepping out to the side will strengthen muscles in your hip, and it'll also help you to create more stability that will help to prevent falls and potential fractures. When you feel steady doing this type of walking, you could also place a resistance band around your legs to give sidestepping some resistance and become more of a challenge. Start by having your feet be hip-width apart and then take one leg out to the side and bring your other leg together to meet it. Move in a line going sideways one direction and then switch and work your way back to where you started from the opposite leg leading. Walking in different directions is a simple and yet powerful way to practice balance. Doing this regularly will help you to increase your stability and confidence in your movement. It will also help you to reduce your risk of having a fall and a potential fracture. Practicing balance isn't just about preventing falls. It's about gaining confidence, improving your bone health, and supporting your overall well-being. The two exercises that we covered today, standing on one foot and walking in different directions, are simple yet powerful ways to build strength, stability, and coordination. So what's your favorite way to practice balance? Share it in the comments. I would love to hear. Practicing balance for just 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference in reducing your fracture risk and improving your mobility. So whether you're lifting one foot off of the ground or experimenting with backwards walking, every small step that you take helps to protect your bones and keep you moving confidently. If you found these exercises helpful, please share this video with someone who could also benefit from having better balance and healthier bones. Stay strong and steady, and I look forward to talking with you soon.